Welcome back to New Earth News.
And new age networking.
So, here on the show, we love to talk about all things ascension, the quantum field, living in peace with nature, holistic wellness, and then all about what's above, aliens, all things spiritual and the metaphysical. And we are so excited to welcome Sarah Itkin to the show today. Sarah is an intuitive coach, angel channel, and psychic medium specializing in intuitive development and helping uplift people who are struggling with feeling stuck, moving through challenging life events, anxiety, depression, grief, and loss. Welcome to the show, Sarah.
Thank you
Welcome.
so much. Thank you for having me.
We're thrilled to have you. And let's just go ahead and dive in. So, why don't you begin by telling us a little bit about you? What's your story and how did you get started in this type of work?
Right. So my story is that I thought I was going to be normal. The normal um I had no idea that I was psychic until I was 19 and I had a dream that my friend had passed away. And it was so detailed I called her the next day and her name was Rebecca. And she actually introduced me to this whole world of psychics and the metaphysical world and angels. And a year and a half later, she died in this very specific way that she had in my dream. All these details of her death in my dream came true, and it was a devastating way for me to realize that I was psychic, but I didn't know what I was going to do about it. Like it was just I
Yeah.
continued to have like these random dreams, and I had a cousin who was older who was dying of cancer and he didn't believe in the afterlife. And so I told him, well, when you die, you'll see that I'm right and you'll give me a sign. And he just laughed. And then when I was at his funeral, I just heard the name Peter in my head. And then the man sitting next to me said, "Hi, my name is Peter." And so again, I had this sense that I could connect, but I didn't know that I could do it on demand. I never would have thought that I could give readings or do anything like that.
Wow.
And I was a therapist at the time and working with children and adults. And one of my clients was a survivor of a war. And I had this horrible dream that I was being brutalized and assaulted and in a war setting. And I woke up and I was like, this is not okay. Like this trauma did not happen to me. And it felt like a dream that was like a post-traumatic stress disorder dream. And so a few days later, my client told me what happened to her, and it was everything that happened in my dream. So at that point, it was very synchronistic. My friend Rebecca's sister, who was working with a psychic development teacher, and when I first met this teacher, I was just like, oh, okay. I mean, I I don't see the point in working with you because again, I'm like, what would being psychic add to my life and other people's lives? And why would I make that investment? But when I had this dream, I realized that the angels were pushing me to develop my gifts. And there was no other choice. I just knew that I had to do something and I didn't know where that was going to take me.
Wow. Wow, that's incredible.
Wow.
Sorry, keep going. That is incredible.
Oh, thank you so much. Um, so as I started to work with my teacher, she just all my abilities opened up. So she had a specific course, and actually, I ended up, with her permission, using what I learned to teach others in my course. But um, she taught me about, opening my psychic abilities completely so I could give readings. And then she taught me about angel channeling. And so I actually saw angels about 10 years before I started working with her. And there are these little sparks of light. And at the time, I said, oh, those are some sort of like celestial beings. But then the immediate thought afterwards was like, no, you're not special enough.
Hmm.
And then I was told that there was something wrong with my eyes, but like there wasn't really something wrong with my eyes, but something, you know what I mean? Like the doctor, I actually went to the doctor and
That's so,
the eye doctor. And he
that's so
said,
cool.
I know. And he said a lot of people have these like sparks, these little sparks of light, but we don't know what's going on, but it's your eyes are fine. And so I realize now that probably all those people were seeing angels and didn't realize
Right.
it.
Wow.
Amazing, freaking incredible.
I
That
Yeah.
is
And
know.
so cool.
so I can't even believe like what I'm sharing with you is actually real.
Right.
But yeah, so then going fast forwarding to like when I started working with my teacher and as a therapist, and I felt like being a therapist wasn't my calling, but I wanted to help people.
Mhm.
Um, and I was at work and at my last therapy job, and I saw those little sparks of light again. And I was listening to the Pandora station, and I said to the classical station, and I said, if you're angels, then play Pachelbel Canon. And
I do
then
that.
they
I try
did.
to
Do you
anyway.
do
It
that?
doesn't work for me, but I do that. If this is real, then
Yeah, yeah. No, it will work for you. You just have to, it's just like trusting. Yeah, so I said, if your angels play Pachelbel Canon, and then they did, and then I still was skeptical. So I said, if your angels, then play my favorite song on the radio when I'm driving home. And so I was like driving home and then I'm like, oh my God, I didn't turn the radio on. So I turned the radio on and there was my favorite song. It was a special live version, like one of a kind of my favorite song.
what a
Wow.
beautiful
That's
story.
beautiful.
Thank you.
My
So
gosh.
yeah, from there, I learned about, I experienced so many incredible angel signs that angels were connecting with me. I understood that they were guiding me to this path, and that my true calling was to do this work by giving intuitive readings, but most importantly, doing intuitive development and intuitive coaching. So with the intuitive development, I realized I had this vision before COVID happened that there was going to be a big shift, and all these people were going to kind of awaken to their spiritual gifts or even start to think about spirituality. And then I saw, I realized the shift was COVID. I made everybody stop in their tracks. And so many people are walking around not knowing that those little sparks of light are angels. They're not knowing how to recognize any sort of intuitive hit they might be receiving in their own mental voice. And I feel like my mission is to help people reconnect with their superpowers,
Wow.
because we all are intuitive and it was all taken away from us at, some point in generations ago. Otherwise we would all be walking around connecting to spirit all the time, just like most indigenous cultures, I believe. We know in like First Nations culture that they were connecting to spirit, the creator, and their spirit animals in order to survive. It was just part of their daily lives. And I feel like why wouldn't we also have that innate gift? And so I just kind
Right.
of feel like it's time to reclaim our power and to actualize our highest potential. And so I have these courses and work with people who want to become professionals and like me. And then I also do this coaching, whereas drawing upon my experience as I was a licensed clinical social worker, and then combining that like therapeutic knowledge with my abilities as a psychic medium, angel channel, and all the things.
Oh my gosh, I
That's
have so
really
many
cool.
questions.
Right. Right. That is really just, it's an amazing story. I'm so
Yeah.
excited that you're here for that reason. Like people need to be aware that that kind of stuff is real.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's so nice of you to say.
You're
I,
welcome.
I want to ask because the way that you sort of discovered that you were psychic, like actually sounds kind of scary. Like you had this dream about your dear friend that like was essentially a premonition of her death, right?
Mhm.
Um and then you had that other dream, later on in time. Like, how did you deal with like getting these intuitive hits that were so like scary, right? Like
Yeah.
that were
Mhm.
sad. Like how did
About
you
your loved
navigate
ones.
that? Right, right. Like how did you navigate
Yeah.
that?
I mean, at the time with Rebecca, that dream that I had about her, I didn't know that it was a psychic dream, but it was so disturbing. I ended up calling her the next day to hear her voice to make sure she was still alive.
Oh,
And poor thing, I actually told her that I dreamt that she had died, and she felt really bad for me. I just was like sitting. It's just kind of like you get smacked in the face, and you're just like disturbed, like mentally and emotionally and physically
Mhm.
right.
for a while, and then with the dream about my client, so I see the meaning in both of the dreams. Like Rebecca was meant to show me who I truly am and that I have these
Mhm.
gifts. And it's like no coincidence that she introduced me to this stuff in the first place. And she helps me from spirit, she helps me teach my students.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, I was
then
gonna ask, is she one of your guides now? That's so
I
cool.
definitely feel like she's one of my guides. And she's so
Yeah.
sweet. And and then that other dream, it was so horrible at the time, but like immediately I knew to call the teacher. So it's just like this, I'm being pushed. I feel like if the universe doesn't, if you don't listen to your calling or something that's really important for your healing, the universe will push you. You know, and we want it to listen first, but so that you don't have to have that push that might be uncomfortable. But if you do have that push, it's like I recognized it. You know what I mean? It's like I think we learn to recognize that. And I was just like,
Yeah.
boom, I'm getting my teacher. And then once I got my teacher, actually, and I tell my students this, and it changes their lives too, is like the ones who had those same scary experiences is once I started to learn and to hone my abilities, I stopped having those dreams. I
Oh,
stopped having those intrusive experiences. And I mean, my grandpa came to me in a dream to warn me about when he was going to pass away.
Oh,
And so it was really sad at the time, but I it did help me prepare. And he did die when he told me he was going to die. But I no longer have really any negative experiences anymore.
wow.
that's amazing. She gave me a perfect end, Melissa. Do you mind if I go with this? Okay, I love so much that you said the universe pushes you. Because this is my story really quick for you that happened to me on Monday. So last Friday, I fell down the stairs in the middle of the night going to refill my cup of water.
Oh
It
no.
gets even more crazy. So, and at this point, I think I had just received a text from Elisa, like, we have this interview with Sarah on Wednesday. And I'm like, okay. So I was really trying to brush my injury off like a bruise. So I went to work on Monday. I found your YouTube channel. And even though you haven't posted in like 3 years, I still watch every video except like 4 of them. And my boss sent me home from work, so I went from work right to the emergency room. It's been 3 days. I was in a lot of pain. And I'm
Oh,
listening to one of your stories, and you were like, I was trying to figure out this way to turn this gift I have into a business. And then I fell down the stairs and I broke my foot. The universe pushed me. And that's what I had been telling Melissa and my husband. I think the universe is like, you're not listening. You're not listening. And it shoved me down the stairs and I broke my sacrum. So I'm listening to
oh,
your story about you being pushed at the same time as I'm totally neglecting my own story, driving to the emergency room. And I was like, if there isn't a better synchronicity or just like really in my face example, it was your story parallel to like what I was literally experiencing at the moment. And we get to interview you now. So I'm just like, I am so excited about this.
my gosh. Wow, we're truly meant to be connected.
I totally, I was like, I have to tell you about this, Melissa, but I want it to be organic. And it blew my mind. And it just made this interview so much more important to me and special because I'm in a lot of pain. Your sacrum is
Oh,
in a very difficult spot, but like, I feel like it was the same exact thing that you were experiencing and talking about in your YouTube from 5 years ago. It was so incredible. So I just wanted
oh
to
my
share that with
gosh.
you.
Thank you so much for sharing. And I hope you heal so quickly. But I'm so, it's beautiful isn't it beautiful to be able to recognize like the the beauty in something that
Yeah,
can be so painful.
yeah,
And
the
I'm so glad
positive.
that we connected on that.
That's what I'm like. I'm not going to focus on this negative part of it. I'm going to focus more on the positive. I get to be home and I get to be creative and I get to talk with like-minded people. And it's just so profound and so beautiful. I don't yet still know what the actual calling is, but I'm here and I'm working with it.
Well, that's
So thank you.
beautiful. Thank you.
Love it.
Oh, sorry. I just had to tell her.
I mean, let's just don't follow down this. Like, let's hope that nobody else
Yes,
falls down the
right.
stairs. We'll take it for the team, and then all of you
Yeah.
other people can actually listen to your calling first.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because seriously, like just listen to your intuition, guys. If you feel like you should maybe quit that job and go more towards your passions, just do it. Because a broken sacrum or a broken foot, in Sarah's case, is just not like ideal.
It's not ideal.
That's so cool. I just love that reminder of like when the universe is nudging you, pay attention, because if you don't pay attention to the nudges, they get stronger and louder until
Exactly. It's
you have
so
no choice
true.
but to listen.
I love it though.
Sarah, so we're cosmic beings that are in human bodies right now, right? So like,
Mhm.
do you believe that everybody has some type of intuitive ability and it's just lying dormant because of the environment we're in, because of conditioning, or like what's your philosophy around that, around our natural abilities?
I have an unproven, well, this is my theory that I share with my students. So I think there's many factors. We have the global factor of like tracing back to, and I always say I appreciate religion. The core of every single religion is the same and it's all beautiful. And I feel like it contains truth. But just kind of going back to when Catholicism was created during the times where the priests and the popes it wanted the masses, or mostly peasants, to rely on them to connect to God and to rely on them to connect to Jesus. And we know that whoever was doing, otherwise, that they're going to say that they're connecting to Jesus themselves, or they were having psychic premonitions. We know that they were burned at the stake and called witches. And so I feel like in that system, that people were made to then to force to hide that within themselves. And so, like I said before, I don't know about every single indigenous culture, but I do know that from Siberia to Africa to South America, everywhere, they've had their mystics and their just innate ability to channel, to receive psychic information, and to connect with their higher power in a very clear and organic way, and it was no big deal. So I feel like we have these big blocks for those of us who are raised in dominant like Western culture, and if we didn't, and then it's also about like schooling, and I'm all for school, I'm all for science too, 100%. And but I think that here we value rational thought more than the intuitive thought, and because it's proven. And so in school we're not taught to rely on our intuitions, but except everybody knows you have a gut feeling. Everybody's had a gut feeling. Have you ever felt someone staring at you? Have you ever had a deja vu moment? Those are all psychic experiences that are just kind of like, it's not, there's no connection as we're educated and growing up. And then, of course, for people who are in societies where it's unsafe, still unsafe for them to talk about their intuition because of religious beliefs or develop their intuition. And then they do see a spirit when they're a child and they're terrified, and then there's nobody there to support them and help them process, so they completely cut it off. So everybody has a sixth sense. To me, look like a sixth sense is the same as all the other senses. I truly forget that people only think there's five senses.
Right.
And the people I worked with, I also think that's a muscle that comes more naturally for some than for others. And I think there's a reason for that. I think that, people who have a purpose in doing this type of healing work, and also teaching other people to join that, might have more of an innate ability. Just like if someone's purpose is to create a rocket ship, or not that I wouldn't say purpose, but their mission in life, their soul's desires, then they're gonna be really good at math.
Yeah.
Does that do so? I just kind of feel like it's happening organically, for a lot of us, especially now because we're shifting into our planet is evolving and shifting, and we're stepping into, as this evolution, into our psychic awareness. Um, and and so, I mean, people from all walks of life are kind of coming to me and telling me that they have like experiences here and there. Um, and then I think that for other people, it's just about having the awareness and then being interested enough to
Again. Yeah.
to delve into and to open it up. But that's why, like, again, teaching is so important to me, because I could have been living my life feeling like a misfit. I was always feeling like a square peg trying to fit into a round hole. And I think that's a story for a lot of us.
Yeah, I agree.
And if I didn't wake up to my abilities, if I wasn't pushed to, I would continue to live that way. And I would just be like, what's wrong
Miserable.
with me?
Yeah, I totally get that.
So yes, everybody can absolutely develop their intuition.
Beautiful. You mentioned that you channel angels, and I'd love to
Mhm.
hear more about that. Like, what is that like? How do you connect with them? How do their messages come through? I just think that's
Well,
so beautiful.
thank you. Um, so angels are celestial beings that are here to help us be human. And because being a human being is the hardest thing that I think any spirit could ever do,
Yeah.
especially now. So that's why, so connecting to angels, first with me, they started with so many signs. And I'll just tell you some of the few, and a lot of you will recognize those signs as well. But I started with, I was sitting down on like the dirt, and I heard, look down and you'll find a heart-shaped rock. And by the way, I heard this in my own mental voice. And again, I
Yeah.
think that's why a lot of people miss it. Most people don't hear like a beautiful, angelic, disembodied voice talking to them. And so I looked down and I found a heart-shaped rock. And then I was like, this isn't defined enough. So I looked down again and I found a perfect heart-shaped rock.
Wow. I
And I
love
Like
knew
you
that
had to
those are
validate
signs.
it even more.
Yeah, yeah. I was always needing that validation. I was so rude.
that.
And so heart-shaped rocks are one of those signs that they are reaching out. And then I learned that feathers were a sign from the angels. And so I was in my room, and then I heard a clicking sound coming from my ceiling, and I looked up, and there was this white feather floating down from the ceiling. And I knew that there was the clicking sound was for a reason, because then I wasn't able to say, oh, it could have been my down comforter, it could have been for my down winter coat.
Hmm.
There was no like doubting that.
From the ceiling. That's so
From the
cool.
ceiling.
Yeah, right.
It's just like, what was the clicking?
I don't know. I think it was just for me to notice that there was a feather.
Wow.
It's like you can't rationalize that away.
You
No, you
can't,
You
can't.
no,
know?
you can't be like, my ceiling just clicked.
Right.
I can't stop smiling. I'm so, this is
Oh,
so
thank
cool.
you. Yeah, it was incredible. And then I learned that they also can show up as moths. And I was thinking to myself, oh, that's kind of surprising, because moths aren't very like glamorous, you know.
Right.
Of course, angels show as butterflies as well, but so I left my room, and then I went back into my room, and I call it like, there was a big moth, and then a medium moth, and a little tiny baby moth, and they were all lined up like this, like right over on the window, right over my pillow in my bed.
Oh my gosh.
It was so cool.
Wow.
So then it kind of evolved into angel numbers. And so a lot of people have heard of angel numbers. And basically, what angel numbers are actual, like, I would say, codes, and how they're like talking to us,
Mm.
because each number has a meaning. And the way that the angels are knocking on your door is by showing you all these numbers. It's like, why do I see 444 when I look at the clock? All the time it's 444. Like I see 444 in someone's shirt. I don't know, just I'm thinking of random things. I
Yeah.
park in front of 444 house just randomly. And so that's how the angels are getting your attention. And then you can actually look up the meaning of the angel numbers. And so that started to happen to me. And the numbers I was seeing was 69 at the time. That was letting go of the old and bringing in the new. It was like transformation. So that made so much sense. And so I asked the angels like why they do numbers, and they said because numbers were our first language. So I don't know anything about that, but I'll say
Right.
that makes sense.
I believe it.
So yeah, so now it's cool because people are recognizing that they're seeing these numbers for a reason. So if you're seeing angel numbers over and over again, they're knocking on your door and they're literally like asking you to communicate with them. And so from there, I learned how to do, yeah, it's so cool. So then I learned how to do automatic handwriting, and it's you close your eyes and you draw out tiny circles, and then you're in a meditative state, and then you open your eyes and you just free write. And at first, I was like, okay, I'm totally making this up. And most of my students go through that as well. And but then you notice that they're saying, very wise things. Your grammar might be perfect, like your spelling might be perfect,
Oh, really?
and maybe not. But I noticed that
Like
I was
me?
like, I'm way better at spelling when I do this automatic
Oh, how
handwriting.
funny.
Um, and I just started to trust that it was coming from the angelic realm. And then I started to be able to do it without the writing. When I give readings, I didn't know this was going to be my process. And that's a beautiful thing when you're developing your intuition. Your process might involve a specific guide or connecting to an extraterrestrial being. So my process was that I would see psychically what I needed to see, and then I start to hear in my mental voice all the messages from the angels that were for that particular person that was comforting and life changing. So, but it's all my mental voice. Um, I see I see angels all the time and out like as those sparks of light. And then I started to see archangels, and they showed up as like colorful blobs. And so each archangel, and an archangel is if there's kind of like a hierarchy, they're kind of in charge, and each one has their own healing power. And so I started to see the different colors of each archangel, and I just looked it up, and that's how I knew I was connecting to that archangel. And so you can work specifically with them, and that's basically how it works. And again, with the angel channeling, again, it's not just for special people. Really, everybody can learn how to do it. It's just about trusting that you're doing it.
Okay, so I forgot to mention this part. On the way to the ER, the car directly in front of me had 777 on its license plate. Like as I was connecting your foot with my back and the stories, and I'm like, I took a picture of it because I wanted to prove it to I don't know who, but that also happened at the same time, like simultaneously. So you're just like validating all of these things for me. And I really genuinely am so grateful for this.
Oh my gosh, that's actually amazing because when I was really struggling and I'm like, really, really wanted to leave the therapy profession, but didn't know how I was going to do it and really wanted to do this work, but like, that's totally irrational. How could I support myself doing this? And then I kept seeing 777 all the time. And that's like one of my favorite numbers. It means
Mine too.
miracles. Yeah.
And in that same video, you said that I'm like, nobody's ever gonna believe this story. Nobody's gonna believe this story. So I took a picture and I made sure, like, once I got to the emergency room, that I could see the 777 to make
Oh
sure I
my
wasn't
gosh.
losing it because it was so incredible. Like when I tell you, I've been like holding my breath for this right now, just to the communication. It was really profound for me. And so you kind of going over those angel numbers and stuff right now. Thank you for that.
Oh my
Thank you.
gosh. You're welcome.
I feel like that's a thing. Like Christy and I are both past life regression hypnotherapists. Sarah.
Oh,
And
amazing.
so, like, we've noticed that ever since we started doing that work, it was like our channel was just more open and like the
Hmm.
synchronicities just blew up, like in our
Yeah.
everyday life.
Right.
And I really feel that there's something to that. It's like, now like it wasn't personal to me, but like for you, Christy, like it was as if you were already tuning into like Sarah's field
That's
before
totally, yeah.
we even like had this. It was like your like
Wow.
Sarah's field was sort of connecting with your field and just sort of like just starting to mesh a little bit
Yeah.
before this actual interview took place. Do you
That's
find,
what it felt
Sarah,
like.
that like does it work like that? Like, do you think that our teams are on the other side, like hanging out and setting things up and talking and just kind of like positioning us to be more
Yes,
open or receptive to what's about to come?
Yeah.
I do. I feel like they also put you with the right people at the right time. Like that's what's happening here, and I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
so grateful. I feel, sometimes I'll meet someone and be like, oh my God, like this is just, you're my new best friend.
Right. No, so
And yeah, a lot of value, or they teach me something that I wouldn't have been taught. And I also think about the spirit team helping with my business, because there can be so much fear around being a solopreneur, not knowing, like you don't have that 9 to 5 guaranteed
yeah.
paycheck.
Yeah.
And so the spirit team, I also feel like helps me maybe get the right clients, or the like wonderful opportunities like this opportunity. And they help create situations that really feel like divinely aligned.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I just
Very
think
good.
it's about our work is to be able to trust that and to open to that.
And that's
That's
hard work.
beautiful. It is hard work.
That trust is hard work.
Yes.
Okay, what's the difference between guardian angels and archangels and regular angels? Like, do we all have one guardian angel or do we have an army of angels around us? Like, how does that all work?
It's, what's weird is that I've never, and I think maybe it's not in my wheelhouse, but I don't see guardian angels for people.
Okay.
Um, I feel like when I connect to those little tiny spark angels, they're like a collective consciousness. And when I channel, I'm channeling a collective consciousness. Um, Kind of like, have you heard Abraham Hicks? I'm sure
Yes.
Oh yeah.
yeah,
I
of
love
course, right?
Abraham. Yeah.
Yeah. So Abraham's channeling a whole bunch of angels. Like she's or Esther is channeling a realm. I feel like
Hmm.
there are a whole bunch of angels in this realm that are connecting to her, and so I kind of feel like that as well, because I feel like everybody has like millions of angels, or infinite amounts,
I
and
agree with that.
yeah, and then the archangels again, because they each. So for example, Archangel Raphael is emerald green. And if someone just injures themselves, like, or they have pain in their shoulder, I'll see this green on their shoulder. Or if they have this emerald green around them, or on their hands, especially, I'll know they're a healer.
That's
Because
beautiful.
Archangel Michael is the healing angel, physically, for physical, emotional, and healer of healers. So he works with me that way, and I can see him also on myself when I'm actually like emotionally having really hard time, sometimes. And so, uh, yeah, and again, like so almost when I'm working with clients, I will see them. So I'll see Archangel Shamuel, the color pink, which has to do with love and relationships. And then I'll know to channel. So it's kind of like they signal and then I'll connect to them. I'm not in the habit of connecting to them as much as I should be for myself. But they each have a very distinct energy to them. And so that I can feel separation. But when it comes to everything else, I don't feel what I'm channeling is coming from a particular voice. When I connect, also I do connect to spirit guides for people, and that definitely feels a lot different than connecting to angels, because a spirit guide has more of a personality. They could be really funny, um, and distinctive features, and that sort of thing. Same with like an animal spirit. and I always want to say that I always just want to thank the First Nations people for sharing that wisdom with us, that we know that we have spirit animals. Um, Not to take advantage of that information. So, so each animal, you know, obviously has their own healing gifts. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. So, Sarah, is this something that's just always on for you, or is this something that you like can tap into and turn on at your will? You know what I'm saying? Like, do you always walk around like in a grocery store and you're like, oh, Raphael or Archangel Michael or Jophiel or
Mhm.
and whatnot? Or is this something that you're like, all right, I'm gonna zen out a little bit and then connect and then I can open those doors.
Well, in terms of seeing, I always see them. I mean, like I I usually see them. I see them every day, but like they just show up and disappear and show up and disappear. And that's very
Yeah.
pleasurable. It's not intrusive at all, you know? And I see them on people, on people's faces, and oftentimes around here, especially people, you know, that I love, or like children, or very like highly evolved people, but I don't see them all the time. In terms of my intuition, thankfully, I just turn it on when I give a reading. And I think I don't do a very good job of turning it off when it comes to connecting to the collective. Um, like I don't think I unfortunately I haven't created good boundaries for myself in that
Right.
way. I do think I connect to like collective consciousness sometimes, and good and bad. But um, when I give reading, luckily, unless luckily I'll look at someone and I won't be able to read them. Although I feel like that we have like a connection, so I can feel that I could feel your energy strongly, you know, as we're
Mhm.
talking. Um, there are times where I have heard information without asking when it comes to deceased loved ones,
Uh-huh.
who have, especially the ones who have recently passed. But for example, my cousin told me that one of her friends had passed away, and it was very tragic, and she was very young, and it happened like a few days ago, and I felt her right away, and I was like, oh my God, does
Wow.
she look like this? And she's saying this, and um, it felt really strong, and I felt like I had to get it out. But I don't know if I would have connected with her if my cousin didn't say that,
Oh
if that
yeah.
makes
I was gonna
sense.
ask her, do you ever do like Teresa, and go out there and be like, so I'm a psychic medium and your loved one's coming through.
I actually don't do that because I think as a therapist, I'm aware that that could be very triggering for someone
Yeah.
to say, um, I saw the Long Island medium doing it, and I'm sure they asked for people's permission or whatever
Right.
beforehand, but I don't want to catch someone off guard and say, your mom's coming through.
Right.
But sometimes it's just kind of like I know when to say something and when not to say something.
Yeah.
One woman, her daughter also died really tragically, and I felt her daughter really strongly, but I kind of was just choosing whether or not, like, kind of what to say. And I said, I bet she wants to, you know, communicate with you, but you know, you never know what people's belief systems are. So I don't want to be intrusive, but if I feel so strongly, I will kind of feel a person out.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
That makes so much sense. Um, with your work where you are connecting with spirit of deceased loved ones, what like I have so many questions around this. Okay, my first question would be like, are there messages that you get from spirit that like consistently you hear over and over and over again? Like, is there something that they want us to know? Like, I know, for example, like just from our work and like our research, on souls and the soul journey and all that, it's like the energy is never destroyed. It just transitions to something else. And it's more like as humans, like it's harder for us being the ones left behind because we get so caught up in our
Yeah.
emotions. But like we just keep hearing over and over that, you know, they're still with us, they're still sending us love. Like,
Oh,
do you
yeah.
ever get like consistent types of messages from spirit that like are similar to that? Like you could just hear the same thing over and over, and it's like important for the collective to know.
Exactly. Yeah, with mediumship, I mean, the main message, and like what you said, is the most important message to know that they want us to know is that the relationship isn't over. They're not
Yeah.
buried and gone and done. And they're meant, I mean, I think one message in particular that I now see after doing this for so many years is that they're in a sense our guide. They're in a sense a spirit guide. And people worry, well, I don't want to hold them back or keep them from, going and whatever, getting, I don't know, closer to God or reincarnating, whatever people's beliefs are. And really, a spirit can be a million places, different places at once. And so they can be like ascending and moving on in their path on the other side, but still strongly with us because they're not
Yeah.
bound by matter. So the biggest message that comes through is that you can help. I want to help you. I'm still here. This is how you know I'm here. They tell me the specific signs that my clients have already been experiencing, most likely, or maybe or will experience specific signs that they are connecting. And then a lot of times just bringing in awareness of how they are connecting to my clients and that they want my clients or everybody to talk to them,
Yeah.
to work. They want to work with us on our grief. They want to help us in our lives. So they are like talk to us. Literally, you can talk out loud. They can hear us. And people have magical experiences. And the people who don't have those experiences right away after they lost a loved one is because their grief is blocking them. But remember, there is a grief and loss process. There are the stages of grief. And so when you're in the beginning stage, and if you're in denial, you don't want to believe that your loved one is gone, you're definitely not going to be trying to connect to them. And that's what I'm actually experiencing right now. My father passed away, and as a medium, I know I could just be chatting with him all day long, but I'm blocking it right now because I'm still in a little bit of a shock and denial stage. And so I don't want to like see his stuff. I don't, because it makes me really sad, but
Well, my
he connects
condolences.
with me anyway. So,
He's like, I don't care.
oh yeah. And I'm feeling ready to open myself up more to
I'm
that.
so sorry about that. That's heartbreaking, but at the same time, it's probably like, well, how do you maneuver that? Because you know that he's safe and healthy and
Yeah.
happy, but also physically, I don't get to physically hug and all that stuff. So I am very sorry about that, your loss.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I thank you. I appreciate it. And I mean, one thing actually that's pretty amazing is before my dad died, he didn't really like, this wasn't his jam. Like he knew what I did, but didn't fully understand. He was more like into history and sports and stuff like that.
Right.
And
But
but
now
but
he's like,
yeah, like he was like interested in like the like intellectually learning about all the sports players and stuff like that, and that was just who he was. But when he was dying, he was going in between worlds,
mhm.
and he was describing what he was describing was what I see, the place that I see when spirits come to me. He was saying like there, and he was like, I feel completely calm. I'm so happy. I feel surrounded by love. I see all these different lights, and then and so it was amazing because
Yeah,
he was seeing that. I feel safe, but I also
right.
when he opens his eyes, I want to be here. Am I dying? What's going on? But
Oh,
when he would go in and out.
Yeah.
So
Wow,
so it's
that's
like that place
incredible.
does exist. Like what
It
he was
does.
experiencing was real.
What?
profound.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Also, so beautiful. It's also so relieving because I've lost quite a few people, and
Oh
I
yeah.
know that they're over there and they're cool, and I know they're probably sitting here laughing at me, thinking I know all this stuff, but at the
Hmm.
same time, like it's so comforting being able to physically witness your dad, probably see that in physical, and like he's there and he's safe. Wow.
Yeah, and it is amazing. And for those of you who you worry about your loved one suffering, before they die, they start to leave their bodies and cross over even before they die. So it's nice to be aware of like the signs of how they're showing that they're leaving the world. But that's why, again, I keep going back to my course and my one-on-one work. How healing is it to be able to learn how to connect to your deceased loved ones when you're ready, when you've like gone through, when you feel like you can handle it emotionally. It's all beautiful. It's never mean, even if they were abusive to you in life.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, wow.
I've given readings to incredibly abusive people. For the spirits were,
Yeah.
and it's all about apologizing.
And
And so
they
it's,
come back.
yeah, just like we're all
Wow.
psychic, we do have the ability to connect with deceased loved ones if we want to.
Wow.
Hear that, people? So just sign up for her course and we will all learn how to connect to our loved ones together.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your course, Sarah, and like how you work with clients in this way.
Yeah, tell us
So,
about all the things that you do and how they can benefit anybody who reaches out to you, because that's what we want to do. We want to connect people who you are meant to assist. That's why you're here.
oh my gosh, thank you. So my intuitive development, I have an introduction to intuitive development course. So I just keep running over and over again. And so that course is basically you basically start kind of knowing, oh, there's something going on here, or I'm curious about my gifts, or I'm feeling alone and I want to connect, I want to feel more connected to the spirit. And then what we do is we remove your blocks to your intuition because intuition is within you. It's just you have to chip away all the stuff, the gunk.
Yeah.
And so we do that through energy healing and journaling prompts and discussion. And then we learn how to ground, clear, and protect your energy. And then we learn how to activate your psychic gifts. And I do have to say, like, my stuff is real practical. It isn't, there's no fluff. And it's also not like long, like an hour long activation. I've seen people do that where they'll guide you through like an hour long meditation, which I'm not saying that that's bad, but it's just my styles because we have a short amount of time. It's just quickly we do specific and fun psychic development exercises, and then we learn how to again channel angels. We recognize the angel signs, channel angels, meet a spirit guide, channel messages from a spirit guide. Then we learn how to pick up messages about people, my loved ones who've given me permission, like reading their photographs, and then just my deceased loved ones, and moving up and like building more and more skill so that by the end of the class, people are giving each other readings and receiving angel messages for the other people. And so everybody takes turns giving each other a reading. And then I squeezed in a group past life regression just so people
Oh,
could see what
very
it feels
cool.
like. But I
love
don't feel
that.
like I don't feel like that's my specialty. But so yeah, by the end, people are connecting on demand. They're using their intuition in their lives. Like I just did an interview with one of my students, and she's like, it literally transformed my personal life and my career.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And then I work one-on-one with people who want a more like a plan. It's based on my course, but these people want to be able to do it professionally. And so we cover everything in my course, but I also tailor the lessons to what they need. And I do readings where I sit in, like we do Zoom readings, and I have guests and they'll read and then I'll coach about like the readings and how to overcome like a hurdle until they're ready to give readings by themselves
That
as a
is
profession.
freaking magnificent. That's so cool. I love that you tailor it specifically to however they're going to be able to open up to their gifts and connect to their spirits. And you sit in and you watch it. That's incredible.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. It's all these tools I learned from it's based on like what I actually did with my teacher because I knew obviously it worked for me. And then I also created techniques myself just from doing this work for so long. And I also do give readings for really, I mean, people can come to me for any reason, but my mission is to heal. So I don't like to be a fortune teller. Like I don't like it when someone, I mean, I don't like it. So I don't prefer when someone says, what's my, like,
Right.
what's going to happen with my finances in 2 years?
Yeah.
My aim is to, I don't find that, I find that, it would be better to empower the person to be able to take those actions themselves. So I see everything psychically, anything that someone wants clarity on. And then if they want to connect with these deceased loved ones, I do that. I relay messages and from the angels and to help people with readings. And then another thing that I did was I created a coaching program, like an intuitive coaching program, which is for people who are really going through challenging hardships. They're just like they're struggling in their lives and they feel stuck. They don't know what their purpose is. And they're unhappy in their career or relationships or so I help basically it's kind of like an alternative to therapy.
Yeah.
In my program, I use tools like my specific tools and abilities and to help people completely heal. Well, I should say, I mean, most people do heal and don't need me anymore. So yeah, that's for people who want like everything. And I don't call myself a therapist, but I do have this knowledge about, different modalities that are really helpful in incorporating into the coaching work.
That's beautiful. I love that. I
Thank
love
you.
that.
That so much. Well, before we wrap up, Christy and I both have a question that we like to ask our guests. And so my question is, what are you here for in the new earth? Like, what paradigm shift, what healing modality, like what change are you waiting to see happen? Like, what are you here for in the new earth?
I love that question so much. I'm here to witness and ex I'm here to witness, experience myself, and help people to reach their highest potentials, to and globally in the earth. And doing so, the when you reach your highest potential, no matter what you do, you can, as a garbage worker, it doesn't matter what you do.
Right.
You don't have to be like a fancy anything. You're contributing healing to the collective. And then you become a more open, loving person, and then you contribute healing to this 3D world. And so we're in these like really scary times where people can feel really hopeless and I feel like I'm here to help people work through that and and to help, I guess, to help with the evolution of people spiritually and during these times, because there are so many people who are waking up, and I feel like my mission is to support them in their awakening process. And also I need to experience all this stuff for myself.
Yeah. Your
That too,
mission's
right?
just starting.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's so needed in the world. And like you said, like I had my awakening in the pandemic, as I know so many
Mhm.
people have. And there's just such a need for connected cosmic beings like yourself, like us, to share our magic and to share our knowing and our experiences with the collective. And I think the more that we do that, the more the consciousness of the collective expands and it becomes more normal. We're trying to amplify all these voices to normalize them so that people are more receptive to this and we can
Mhm.
truly move the needle in the direction that we want to head in.
Mhm.
So I think that's so beautiful.
Absolutely. I agree. And, working and healing yourself is actually healing the collective consciousness. So I love that you put that in there, Sarah, because that's what I say all the time. I can help by healing myself. When I heal myself, that means I'm actually creating a ripple effect.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like healing yourself and then taking the right action out in the world, and that's when magic happens.
Yeah. And then people will be like, what are you doing? And you're just like, all of this. Okay.
Mhm.
My question for you it's not really a question. I guess it is a question. If you could give, you know, after through all your advancements and your spiritual growth and whatnot, and living the years you've lived here in physical in your form that you're in, Sarah, what one piece of advice would you give anybody who's just now going through a spiritual awakening?
Well, actually, what I'm hearing, and it feels like it's coming from spirit, is you are safe.
I love that. Oh gosh, don't you give me goosebumps? I love that. That was so fast. That's how you know it's channeled, right? I'm
Yeah,
slowly
yeah, because the
learning. I think
goosebumps.
that's how you know, because the goosebumps, and it comes so rapidly, right? It's just like, you
Yeah,
know, you don't skip a beat, the answer's there. That was beautiful. Thank you for that, Sarah, so
thank
much.
you.
Love
Thank
that
you.
so much. Beautiful. Well, this was such an incredible conversation. Your energy is beautiful, Sarah. The work that you're doing is so beautiful. And I just want to thank you for coming on the show today. And please share with all of our listeners, where can they find you if they want to connect with you and learn more?
Okay. You can go to my website at www.sarah.itkin.com. Yeah, hopefully it'll be written down because I know Sarah, Itkin isn't like a word that people don't know. And there you'll find information to schedule readings, to book my intuitive coaching packages, and to sign up for my intuitive development courses. And I do have a course coming up February 28th, and I don't know if this will be aired later than that, but I'll offer cycles, and so I'll put the new dates onto my website. But if you're interested in the course and the dates that you'd like to do it aren't there, just let me know and I'll put another class on.
Excellent.
Beautiful. Thank you. We'll be sure to link that in the show notes so you guys can just get there in a couple of clicks and connect with Sarah for more. Your program sounds amazing. And thank you so much for doing such beautiful work in the world.
Oh
Thank
my
you
gosh,
very
thank you
much.
for doing such beautiful work and for wanting to talk to me.
Thank you for talking to us so much.
It's our
Thank
pleasure.
you.
And thank you all for tuning in to New Earth News, a show where we talk all things 5D and the New Earth every Friday on YouTube. So if you're watching us on YouTube, feel free to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. New Earth News is also available as a podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. So make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And of course, if you are so inclined, give your girls a 5-star rating. Thanks again for tuning in. And until next time,
Continue to choose the matrix of love and align to the frequency of the new earth.
thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sarah, so much.